Commander Eric Mason watched through the viewport as the strange ship approached Mars Station Alpha. It moved unlike any human craft, smooth and silent against the red planet's sky. His heart beat faster. After 15 years in space, he was about to make history. "All personnel to the main chamber," Eric spoke into the comm. His voice stayed steady despite his excitement. "Our visitors are almost here." The 6 other crew members gathered quickly. Dr. Karen Ellis, the team biologist, couldn't stop smiling. Engineer Frank Wright kept checking the airlocks, making sure everything worked perfectly. "Do you think they'll look like us?" asked Lisa Chen, the youngest crew member. "Doubtful," Karen replied. "The odds of another species evolving exactly like humans are incredibly small." They got their answer 20 minutes later when the airlock doors opened. 3 beings stepped into the station. They looked almost human in shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, but their skin shimmered with faint blue light. Their eyes were large with pupils that adjusted visibly to the station's lighting. The tallest one stepped forward. "I am Ambassador Xylith of the Galactic Confederation," she said, her words translated through a small device on her wrist. "We detected your settlement and came to investigate." Eric stepped forward. "Commander Eric Mason of Earth's International Space Agency. Welcome to Mars Station Alpha." The aliens looked at each other. "Earth?" Xylith asked. Her large eyes blinked rapidly. "You originated from Earth, the 3rd planet in this system?" "Yes," Eric replied, confused by their reaction. "Earth is our home planet." The aliens began making a sound that the translation device eventually conveyed as laughter. "Is something funny, Ambassador?" Karen asked. "Forgive us," Xylith said, composing herself. "We've monitored this solar system for centuries. Earth is classified in our database as a hostile environment. We assumed it contained only simple life forms." Frank frowned. "Hostile? Earth is perfectly habitable." The second alien, who introduced himself as Science Officer Narration, pulled out a device that projected a holographic image of Earth. "Your planet has extreme conditions: high gravity, intense radiation from your sun, powerful weather systems, aggressive microbes, and dangerous predators. We classified it as uninhabitable for intelligent life." The humans looked at each other in surprise. "Those conditions seem normal to us," Eric said. "Exactly," Xylith replied. "Which makes you quite remarkable. We've never encountered beings that evolved on a world like yours." Over the next few hours, the aliens shared more about the Galactic Confederation, an alliance of over 300 intelligent species spanning thousands of star systems. They explained their planetary classification system, which rated worlds from Class 1, paradise-like, to Class 12, barely habitable. "Where does Earth fall in that system?" Lisa asked. The aliens hesitated before Narix answered. "Earth doesn't fit our standard scale. We created a special designation, Class 13. "What does that mean?" Eric asked. "It means your planet has conditions that would kill most Confederation species within minutes of exposure," Xylith explained. "We call such planets Deathworlds." The humans struggled to process this information. Their home, the world they found, so beautiful and life-giving, was considered a nightmare by galactic standards. "We must return to our ship," Xylith announced. "Our environmental suits have limited duration. Your atmosphere contains elements toxic to our biology, even in this controlled setting." Before leaving, Xylith extended a formal invitation. "The Confederation wishes to establish diplomatic relations with Earth. We would like to invite a delegation to visit our capital world." As the aliens departed, Eric gathered his crew. "We need to contact Earth immediately. Everything changes today." Karen stared at the closed airlock. "They think we're monsters, don't they? Creatures that evolved in hell and called it home." Eric nodded slowly. "Yes, and I think that scares them more than they're willing to admit." That night, as Mars Station Alpha transmitted its historic report back to Earth, none of the crew slept. They looked at images of their blue planet with new eyes, wondering what it meant to be creatures from a Class 13 Deathworld. and how the galaxy would treat them now that they had stepped onto the cosmic stage. Dr. Olivia Grant adjusted her oxygen mask and tried to ignore the stares. The Grand Hall of the Confederation Capitol buzzed with whispers as she led Earth's first diplomatic mission through the crowd. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved aside, their expressions a mix of curiosity and disgust. "They act like we have a disease," whispered Pete Davis, her security officer. "To them, maybe we do," Olivia replied quietly. "Remember what we learned? Most species here evolved in environments far more stable than Earth. The Earth delegation consisted of 5 humans, selected for their expertise: Olivia, the xenobiologist; Pete, security; Susan Kelly, cultural expert; Joe Martinez, diplomat; and Ben Fisher, scientist. They all wore lightweight environmental suits and oxygen masks. The atmosphere here contained only trace amounts of oxygen, nowhere near enough for human needs. Ambassador Xylith met them at the entrance to the council chamber. "I must warn you," she said. "Many representatives are uncomfortable with your presence. Your species is unusual to us." Joe stepped forward with a practiced smile. "We understand, Ambassador. We're here to build bridges, not create problems." The council chamber amazed them, a vast dome with seating for hundreds of species. Each section had its own environmental controls. Some areas glowed with heat, others looked frozen. Some sections bubbled with liquid instead of air. As Earth's delegation took their seats, a tall, insect-like alien approached. "You are the Earth creatures?" he asked, his translator making his clicks and whistles understandable. "We are the human representatives, yes?" Susan replied politely. The alien made a gesture with his upper limbs. "I am Ambassador Krell of the Arcturus Collective. I find your biology fascinating. You require oxygen constantly?" "Yes," Ben explained. "Our cells need it for energy production." Krell moved closer, examining their masks. "How interesting. You breathe a corrosive gas." With a quick motion, he knocked over Olivia's water glass. The liquid splashed across the table. "Careful," Krell said loudly, stepping back dramatically. "I've heard this substance is deadly to most sensible life forms." Other aliens nearby laughed. Olivia took a deep breath and dabbed at the spill with a cloth. "It's just water, Ambassador. Essential for all life on Earth." "Ah yes, dihydrogen monoxide," Krell said. "The universal solvent. Most species find it too reactive for comfort." The formal proceedings began before Olivia could respond. The Supreme Counselor, a glowing energy being contained in a floating orb, called for order. Over the next 3 hours, the humans listened as their world was formally classified within the Confederation system. Earth received non-voting associate member status, the lowest possible rank. The justification for this classification, droned a gray-skinned bureaucrat, is that species from extreme environments lack the neurological development necessary for nuanced governance. Joe stood to protest, but Susan pulled him back. "Not now," she whispered. "We're outnumbered and don't understand the rules yet." After the session, the humans retreated to their specially prepared quarters. The rooms were sealed and adjusted to Earth normal conditions, allowing them to remove their masks. "They're treating us like primitives," Joe fumed, pacing the room. "Worse," Olivia said, reviewing data on her tablet. "They're treating us like dangerous animals. Look at these security protocols they've implemented around our quarters." Ben examined the information. "Force fields, atmospheric containment, daily medical scans. They're afraid of us." "But why?" Pete asked. "We're smaller and weaker than most species we've seen." Susan's face lit up with understanding. "It's not about strength. It's about unpredictability. We evolved in conditions they consider lethal. They can't predict what we're capable of." Olivia nodded slowly. "And people fear what they don't understand." Later that night, as the others slept, Olivia sent a secure transmission back to Earth. She included all the biological and astronomical data they'd gathered so far. "Something doesn't add up in their classification system," she wrote. "They're hiding something about Earth's status. The way they look at us, it's not just disgust, it's fear. We need to understand why a galaxy of advanced beings would fear creatures from a planet they mock as uninhabitable. As she sent the message, an alert flashed on her screen. Their transmission was being monitored. The Confederation was watching everything. Navy Intelligence Officer Alan Dawson stared at the screen until his eyes hurt. For 2 weeks, he had analyzed the data sent back by the diplomatic team. Something about the Confederation's planetary classification system bothered him. Still, at it? Dr. Samantha Wells entered the secure room carrying 2 cups of coffee. "Something's not right," Alan said, taking the coffee gratefully. "Look at these numbers." Sam leaned over his shoulder. As the lead astrophysicist for the first contact analysis team, she understood the data better than anyone else. Earth sits at the extreme end of every measure. Alan continued. Gravity, radiation, atmospheric pressure, temperature variations, seismic activity, biological diversity. That's why they classified us as a death world, Sam said. Yes, but look at this. Alan pulled up a different chart. Their scale for inhabited worlds goes from Class 1 to Class 12. Earth is rated Class 13. Sam's eyes widened. They made a new category just for us? Exactly. Alan brought up more files. And there's something else. Their ships use special shielding when they orbit Earth. Their environmental suits are reinforced when they meet with humans. Sam sat down thinking. They're afraid of us because we consider normal what they consider extreme. They worked through the night, comparing Earth to other known worlds in the Confederation. By morning, they had compiled their report. Earth wasn't just different. It was exceptional in ways that frightened the other species. General Patricia Rodriguez read their findings with increasing interest. The small, fierce woman had commanded special forces teams before being assigned to lead Earth's new Interstellar Defense Office. Let me get this straight, she said, looking up from the report. The conditions we find perfectly normal would kill most Confederation species? Yes, General, Alan answered. Our gravity alone would crush many of them. Our atmospheric oxygen would burn their tissues. Our bacteria and viruses would overwhelm their immune systems. And our radiation levels from simple sunlight would cause genetic damage, Sam added. Patricia stood and walked to the window. Outside, soldiers trained in the morning sun, running laps around the base. They're not looking down on us because we're primitive, she said quietly. They're afraid of us because we've evolved to thrive in conditions they consider lethal. She turned back to face them. What else did you find? Sam brought up more data. Their biology is different at a fundamental level. They're more specialized for their environments, more efficient in some ways, but we're tougher, Alan finished. We heal faster, adapt to new environments better. We can survive temperature ranges, radiation exposure, and physical trauma that would kill them instantly. Patricia nodded slowly. So when they look at us, they don't see backward primitives. They see monsters, Sam said. Creatures who drink what they consider acid, breathe corrosive gas, and walk around under radiation that would kill them. The general was quiet for a moment. This changes everything about our approach. If they fear us naturally, showing strength might trigger conflict. But appearing weak isn't the answer either, Alan pointed out. They already don't respect us. No, Patricia agreed. We need to show them something else. That our adaptability isn't a threat, but a potential asset. She pressed a button on her desk. Get me the president. Then contact our team on the Confederation. Capital. They need new instructions. As Sam and Alan gathered their materials, Patricia looked again at the report. One line stood out. Humans represent an evolutionary path previously unknown to the Confederation, one shaped by a planet that never stopped trying to kill them. They think we're Deathworld monsters, she murmured. Let's show them we can be Deathworld guardians instead. Meanwhile, in orbit around Earth, the Confederation observation post increased its security protocols. New warnings flashed across their control systems. Class 13 species, extreme caution advised. Dr. Greg Howard floated through the zero-gravity corridor of Darwin Station, the massive research facility that orbited Earth. 6 months after first contact, the Confederation had built this station to study humans and Earth's unique biology. Greg served as the human liaison, helping 20 alien scientists with their research. The aliens never left their sealed environments. They observed Earth and humans from behind thick barriers, always maintaining what they called safety protocols. Greg reached the main laboratory where Chief Scientist Vorex was studying soil samples. The tall, gray-skinned alien wore no protective gear inside his sealed chamber, which was filled with gases that would suffocate a human. "Good morning, Vorex," Greg said through the communication system. "How are today's experiments going?" "Fascinating as always, Dr. Howard," Vorex replied, his large eyes blinking sideways. "Your planet's microbe density is remarkable. A single gram of Earth soil contains more organisms than some entire Confederation worlds." Greg smiled. He had gotten used to the way aliens described Earth, always with a mix of scientific interest and horror. The station alert system suddenly blared. Red lights flashed along the corridors. "Warning, life support failure detected in Section 7. All personnel evacuate immediately." Greg's heart raced. Section 7 contained 5 alien researchers studying Earth's weather patterns. "Vorex, stay here," Greg shouted as he pushed off the wall, propelling himself down the corridor toward the emergency. He met Andy Rivera, the station's human engineer, at the sealed door to Section 7. "What happened?" Greg asked. "Micrometeorite strike," Andy explained, checking readings on his tablet. "Punctured the outer hull. Their environmental chamber is losing pressure and radiation from Earth's sun is getting in." Through the small window, Greg could see the alien scientists panicking. 2 were already unconscious. "Their environmental suits?" Greg asked. "Not rated for these conditions," Andy said grimly. "And the automatic repair systems are offline." Greg made a quick decision. "Get the emergency gear." Andy looked shocked. "You're going in there. The radiation levels are high but not immediately lethal to humans," Greg finished. "We can handle a short exposure." They donned the emergency suits, designed to protect humans from vacuum, not radiation, and entered the airlock. When the IDA inner door opened, they felt the difference immediately. The air was thin and the radiation alarms on their suits beeped continuously. "You can't be in here," cried one of the conscious aliens. "The radiation will kill you." Greg ignored the warning. "Andy, get the 2 unconscious ones, I'll help these 3. The aliens were surprisingly light in the failing gravity. Greg and Andy carried them through the station to the medical bay where Dr. Julia Parker waited with emergency equipment. There, "Biology is crashing from radiation exposure," Julia said, scanning the first alien. "And these 3 are in shock." "Can you help them?" Greg asked. "Their medical database has the protocols," she replied, already working. Hours later, all 5 aliens had stabilized. Greg sat exhausted in the station's human section, drinking water and taking anti-radiation medication. Ambassador Xylith arrived by shuttle from Earth. She looked at Greg with new eyes. "Chief Scientist Vorex informed me of what happened," she said. "You entered a section with 17 times the radiation your safety protocols allow." Greg shrugged. "It wasn't that bad. We get worse on a sunny day at the beach sometimes. You carried 5 of our scientists through a section we consider instantly lethal," Xylith continued, her voice strange. "The sun's unfiltered light alone would cause genetic damage to our species." "We didn't think about it," Greg said honestly. "They needed help, so we helped." Xylith was quiet for a moment. "The Confederation Security Council has been notified of this incident." "Are we in trouble?" Greg asked. "No," Xylith replied. "But I believe many perspectives are changing. Until today, many believed humans were simply primitive beings who had somehow survived on a hostile world. Now they are beginning to understand what that really means." As Xylith left, Greg received a message from General Rodriguez. "Well done. The galaxy is watching now. They're starting to understand what Earth creates." News of the Darwin Station incident spread across Confederation space that day. The story of humans walking through lethal radiation to save aliens began to change. How the galaxy viewed Earth and its people. Admiral Linda Powell studied the classified report with growing concern. The large screen in her Pentagon office displayed information that would change humanity's approach to the stars forever. "They've been running simulations," explained Lieutenant Chris Mitchell, her aide. The young officer pointed to a section of data. "The Confederation's military strategists finally realized what it means that we come from a high-gravity, high-radiation planet with extreme weather and aggressive biology." Linda nodded, her gray eyes serious. "And they don't like what they found." "No, ma'am." Chris pulled up more files on the screen. "According to our intelligence, their simulations show that humans have significant advantages in many combat situations." The screen displayed side-by-side comparisons of human soldiers and various Confederation species. Linda read the highlighted points aloud. "Human advantages: can operate without environmental suits on 38% of known worlds, requires no sleep chambers during extended deployments, heals from injuries that would be fatal to most species, tolerates radiation levels that would instantly kill Class 1-8 species." She paused, looking up at Chris. "Is this accurate?" "Yes, Admiral. What's routine survival for us looks like superpower abilities to them." Chris changed the display to show more data. "We caught their analysts discussing a human's ability to break bones and recover, survive blood loss, or function without food for extended periods. One analyst called us biological terminators." Linda stood and walked to the window. Outside, rain poured down on Washington, D.C. Lightning flashed across the sky, just another Earth storm that would terrify most Confederation species. "And they're scared," she concluded. "Terrified," Chris confirmed. "Some factions are pushing for what they call a containment policy. They want to quarantine our entire system." Linda turned back to face him. "So we're not the fragile newcomers they thought we were." "No, ma'am. As one of their security analysts put it, we didn't discover a primitive species. We discovered apex predators who don't know what they are. Yet," Linda picked up her secure phone, "get me the Joint Chiefs, then contact our intelligence assets near the Confederation capital." After Chris left, Linda looked again at the screen. The final part of the report showed a simulation of a human soldier operating on a high-radiation planet, while Confederation forces remained in protective vehicles. The conclusion was simple. In many environments, humans would have a clear tactical advantage. 3 days later, Linda briefed the president and military leaders in the Situation Room. "They're preparing defensive measures against us," she explained, showing evidence of increased Confederation military activity. "Not because we've threatened them, but because they've realized what humans are capable of." "This is absurd," said the Secretary of State. "We've done nothing aggressive. The Darwin Station incident showed we're willing to risk our lives to save theirs." "That's exactly what frightens them," Linda replied. "Our people walked through radiation that would kill their species instantly. They can't comprehend that level of biological resilience. To them, it looks like we have superpowers." The president looked troubled. "What are they planning?" "Nothing direct yet," Linda answered, "but we've detected activity consistent with containment preparations. They're positioning assets that could monitor or restrict movement from our solar system." "And their official position?" asked the Defense Secretary. "The first trade sanctions." "Hit Earth this morning," Linda said grimly. "The justification: public health concerns." The room fell silent as the implications became clear. "So the galaxy is afraid of us," the president finally said. "Not because of our technology or our actions, but because of what we are." "Yes, Mr. President," Linda confirmed. "They've realized that Earth isn't just a harsh world. It's a forge that created a species unlike any they've encountered before." The president stood. "Admiral Powell, I'm putting you in charge of our response. We need to convince the Confederation that humans aren't monsters to be contained. We're potential allies who can help them face challenges no other species can." As the meeting ended, Linda's secure tablet buzzed with a new alert. Confederation ships had established a monitoring perimeter at the edge of Earth's solar system. The quarantine had begun. Captain Steve Harrison stood on the bridge of the research vessel Aurora, his eyes fixed on the starry void outside. The ship was 3 light-years from Earth, conducting a survey near Proxima Centauri. Despite the tensions with the Confederation, scientific missions continued. The Aurora carried 20 crew members, all specialists in various scientific fields. "Captain, we're picking up a distress signal," said Communications Officer Diane Foster, her fingers moving across her console. "Source?" Steve asked immediately. "Alert, it's Confederation. A mining operation on the fourth planet." Diane looked up with concern. "The signal says they've had a catastrophic accident." Steve frowned. Relations with the Confederation had grown cold since the quarantine began. Any contact now carried political risks. "Play the message," he ordered. A desperate voice filled the bridge, translated from the alien language. "Emergency. This is Mining Station Velos. Critical systems failure. Toxic gases in lower levels. Temperature rising beyond survivable limits. 243 workers trapped. Any vessels in range, please assist." Steve didn't hesitate. Helm set. Course for that mining station. Maximum speed. Lieutenant Paul Rodriguez, the ship's executive officer, moved closer to Steve. "Sir, we should contact Earth first. The quarantine protocols—" "People are dying, Paul," Steve interrupted. "We can sort out the politics later." The Aurora reached the mining planet in 6 hours. From orbit, they could see the problem. A massive facility built into a mountainside was partially collapsed, with smoke pouring from several openings. "Sensors show extreme heat in the lower levels," reported Science Officer Emma Davis. "Temperature is 52 degrees Celsius and rising. Atmospheric analysis shows high levels of sulfur dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. That's deadly to Confederation species," noted Dr. Maria Torres, the ship's chief engineer. She studied the readings. "But it's survivable for humans with basic breathing apparatus. It's hot but no worse than a summer day in Phoenix." Steve made his decision. "Prepare the landing shuttles. I want 2 rescue teams. Dr. Torres, you'll lead Team 1. I'll lead Team 2. "Captain," Emma said hesitantly, "these conditions exceed Confederation safety protocols by a huge margin. To them, this environment is unsurvivable." Steve nodded. "That's why we're the only ones who can help them." 20 minutes later, Steve led his team through the twisted metal corridors of the mining station. They wore lightweight environmental suits with enhanced breathing masks. The air was hot and thick with toxic gases. Fires burned in several areas, adding to the heat. They found the first group of miners huddled in a sealed room that was rapidly losing air. The aliens' environmental suits had failed in the extreme conditions. Their skin, normally purple, had turned a sickly gray. "We're from Earth," Steve told them through his translator. "We're here to get you out." The aliens stared in disbelief. One stepped forward. "How can you function? Our sensors show lethal conditions throughout the facility." "Lethal for you, manageable for us," Steve replied. "Now let's move. This section could collapse any minute." For the next 4 hours, the Aurora's crew made repeated trips into the mining facility. They carried injured aliens through passages filled with toxic gas and heat that would kill Confederation rescue teams instantly. They braved collapsing tunnels and electrical fires. By the time they finished, the Aurora's medical bay was overflowing. Maria's team had found the last group trapped at the lowest level, where temperatures had reached 63 degrees Celsius. 342, reported Paul, checking the final count. "We got them all out." Steve nodded, exhausted but satisfied. He removed his mask and wiped sweat from his face. "Send a message to the nearest Confederation facility. Tell them we have their people and are providing medical care." 6 hours later, 3 large Confederation vessels appeared near the Aurora. The lead ship sent a message. "Research vessel Aurora, transfer the mining personnel to our ships immediately." Steve complied, arranging for the rescued miners to be moved to the Confederation vessels. He expected thanks, or at least acknowledgement of what his crew had done. Instead, the Confederation commander's final message was terse. "You have violated quarantine protocols. Return to your solar system immediately." As the Confederation ships departed, leaving the Aurora alone in orbit, Steve received a private message from one of the alien miners. "They fear what they don't understand, Captain, but we will not forget what Earth humans did today." The Aurora turned back toward Earth, but upon reaching the edge of their solar system, they found 5 Confederation warships waiting. The message was simple: quarantine enforcement. All Earth vessels must undergo decontamination procedures. The real message was clear. The galaxy was now more afraid of humans than ever before. Security Council Director Ryan Kelly took a deep breath as he prepared to enter the Great Chamber. The Emergency Galactic Summit had been called specifically to address what many Confederation species now called the human question. As the leader of Earth's delegation, Ryan carried the weight of humanity's future on his shoulders. "Remember, they're afraid," said diplomatic advisor Amy Chen beside him. "Fear makes people irrational, regardless of species." Ryan nodded. "Our job is to show them they have nothing to fear." The massive doors opened, revealing a vast circular room. Representatives from over 200 worlds sat in tiered sections. The lighting shifted constantly to accommodate the various species' visual needs. The air itself was compartmentalized. Different gases for different biological requirements. Ryan felt the weight of thousands of alien eyes as he walked to the central podium. The Earth delegation consisted of just 5 humans, deliberately chosen to appear non-threatening. Ryan, Amy, 2 scientists, and 1 cultural advisor. They wore simple blue suits rather than anything resembling military uniforms. High Counselor Zav, a tall being with crystalline features, spoke first. "This emergency session will address the security implications of continued interaction with the species from Sol 3, designated humans." Ryan stepped forward. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Confederation, we understand your concerns about Earth and its people, but we assure you, humanity has no aggressive intentions toward any world in this alliance." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Zav responded, his voice amplified. "You say this, yet your species thrives in conditions that would kill any of us. Your biology is robust against radiation, toxins, and pathogens that would decimate our populations." Another delegate stood, a gaseous being contained in a floating sphere. "The humans rescued our miners from conditions we consider unsurvivable. How are we to interpret such capabilities?" "As proof of our desire to help," Amy interjected. "Those humans risked their lives." "Did they?" asked a small insect-like representative. "Our analysis shows they operated well within their biological tolerances. What appears heroic to us was merely convenient for them." Ryan felt the conversation slipping away. These beings couldn't comprehend a world like Earth or creatures evolved to survive its challenges. "The truth is," Zav continued, "humans are, by definition, perfectly evolved bioweapons. You consume what would poison us. You breathe what would burn our tissues. You walk under radiation that would destroy our genetic code." The accusation hung in the air. Ryan looked around the room, seeing fear in every alien face. "We didn't choose our evolution," he said quietly. "Earth shaped us just as your world shaped you. But consider this. The same adaptations that let us survive our Deathworld also enabled us to save your people when disaster struck. We're not your enemies. We might be your best allies." A tall, liquid-like being rose. "Pretty words, but facts remain facts. Your species can survive in 38% of known environments without protection. The next most adaptable species manages only 9%. You heal from injuries that would kill us. You ignore radiation that sterilizes our worlds." "What are you suggesting?" Ryan asked. "Containment," replied the being. "Permanent quarantine of Sol system, for the safety of all." Ryan began to protest when alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. Emergency lights flashed as a new figure rushed onto the central platform. The being's translator struggled to keep up with its rapid speech. "The Drazak Empire has attacked. 3 border worlds under assault. They've deployed new weapons, radiation bombs and chemical agents. Our forces cannot even enter the affected zones." The chamber erupted in panic. The Drazak were a militant species from the galaxy's outer regions, long held at bay by Confederation defenses. Zav struggled to restore order. How many casualties? Unknown. Our ships cannot approach the planets without our crews dying instantly. The radiation levels. Ryan and Amy exchanged glances. Without speaking, they both understood. Ryan stepped forward. High Counselor Zav. The conditions you describe, radiation, toxic atmospheres, these are conditions humans can survive. The chamber fell silent as all eyes turned to him. Earth offers its help, Ryan continued. Our ships, our people. We can enter those zones, rescue survivors, and neutralize these weapons. Why would you help us? Zav asked, suspicion evident. We were just discussing your containment. Ryan met his gaze steadily. Because that's what allies do. You fear what we are. Let us show you what we can be. As the Confederation leadership huddled in urgent discussion, Amy leaned close to Ryan. Bold move. You've just offered to send our people into a war zone. I've offered to let them see that our Deathworld adaptations can save lives, not just take them. Ryan replied. Sometimes the best way to overcome fear is to transform it into hope. Minutes later, Zav approached them. Your offer is accepted with conditions. But understand this. If humans enter this conflict, the galaxy will never see your species the same way again. Ryan nodded. That's exactly what we're counting on. General Nicole Barnes stood in the command center of the Earthship Defender, watching as her troops prepared for deployment. The massive vessel carried 200 of Earth's best Special Forces soldiers, all volunteers for this unprecedented mission. Status report, she ordered. Major Dan Wright brought up a holographic display. The first Drazak-controlled planet is 30 minutes away, General. Confederation forces have established a perimeter but cannot advance. Radiation levels are off the charts by their standards. Nicole nodded. The Confederation military was in disarray. Their traditional tactics were failing against the Drazak's new weapons, devices that created radiation zones and released chemicals harmful to most Confederation species. And for us? She asked. The radiation is high but manageable with our gear, Dan replied. The chemical agents are similar to industrial pollutants we've dealt with on Earth. Unpleasant, but not immediately lethal. Nicole turned to address the soldiers gathered in the briefing area. Listen up. This mission is about more than stopping the Drazak. It's about showing the galaxy what humans can do. The Confederation fears us because we evolved on what they call a death world. Today we prove that makes us the perfect allies. The troops nodded. They understood the stakes. Not just military victory, but humanity's place in the galactic community. 6 hours later, Nicole watched from a command post as human teams deployed across the battlefield. Confederation forces remained in their ships, unable to exit without dying from the environmental conditions. Team Alpha has secured the northern settlement, reported Captain Lisa Baker through the comm system. Survivors located, we're moving them to evacuation points. Team Delta has neutralized the radiation device, another voice called in. These weapons are primitive by our standards. Basic containment technology. Nicole smiled grimly. What the Drazak had created as deadly weapons were merely moderate hazards to humans from Earth. Confederation observers watched in amazement as humans moved through zones their instruments marked as instantly lethal. The human soldiers carried injured aliens to safety, disabled weapons, and engaged Drazak forces directly. They're retreating on all fronts, Dan reported as the battle's third day began. The Drazak never expected ground resistance. Their strategy depended on creating environments too toxic for Confederation species. And they never considered Earth's monsters, Nicole added. By the end of the week, human forces had liberated all 3 captured planets. The Drazak, who had counted on the Confederation's environmental vulnerabilities, had no defense against soldiers who carried Earth's deadly adaptations with them. In the Confederation Security Council, Ryan Kelly presented the after-action report. The Drazak have requested peace talks, he announced. Their leadership was unprepared for the intervention of a species that could function in their weaponized environments. High Counselor Zav studied the human with new eyes. Your people did in days what our forces could not do at all. That's the point we've been trying to make, Ryan replied. What you fear about us, our adaptability to harsh conditions, is exactly what makes us valuable allies. The council chamber was quiet as the implications sank in. Finally, Zav spoke. I am authorized to offer Earth full membership status in the Confederation, no longer as associates, but as equal partners. 6 weeks later, as the new treaties were signed, a significant addition was made to the Galactic classification system. Nicole watched from the audience as the new category was officially entered into the records. Class 13, Evolutionary Crucible. Definition: worlds whose extreme conditions forge species of exceptional resilience and adaptability. Approach with respect. President Jack Nelson, signing on behalf of Earth, looked up at the assembled representatives of hundreds of worlds. For too long, the galaxy mocked Earth as a backwater Deathworld, he said. Today we take our place as partners, not because we conquered, but because we helped. Not because we destroyed, but because we saved. That evening, at the celebration, Ambassador Xylith approached Nicole. When we first met your kind, we thought you were unlikely accidents, creatures that should not exist. Now we understand. Understand what? Nicole asked. That the universe needs creatures forged in fire, Xylith replied. The galaxy has stopped mocking Earth, General Barnes. Now we study it, with wonder and a healthy dose of fee.